Well, hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sarah Cox. I'm a loan officer with Success Mortgage Partners, and I'm here with my business partner, Dan Hooley. He is a realtor with Keller Williams. Dan, it is so good to have you. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sarah. I'm glad we get the chance to spend a few minutes today and kind of talk about the current state of the market and how buyers can best take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And I feel like every time you and I are on the phone together or we talk about a client, we're always so excited and passionate about what an exciting time this is, especially for first-time home buyers to be able to buy a house. And one of the things that I love so much is that we have found opportunities for families who never thought that they could own a home. We have made homeownership a reality for them. And it's not just every once in a blue moon, it is every single month. We see new
Hmm.
families purchase a home again that they did not think that they could buy. And a lot of times, what we talked about is that a lot of times your clients disqualify themselves before ever having a conversation with you or me and
Hmm.
assume based off of what they've heard on social media or the media, mainstream media, whatever outlet they hear housing news from, that they can't buy a house. That's what you've seen too, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, that's the number one probably miseducation, if you use that word, of most buyers is they take everyone else's advice except for the actual lender, who's the one that qualifies them, and they disqualify themselves and never make the steps or think, oh, it costs too much or the rates are too high or it's this or it's that, when really, can they afford it and do they even qualify? And, they never will actually know that until they actually talk to a realtor, but mainly a lender. So that's where most of my
Right.
clients, it's, hey, let's talk to the lender. Hey, let's talk to the lender. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's again, that's what we really wanted to do today is be able to present an option and to present a real life scenario on a house that's on the market right now in Fort Worth, Texas, 76179. We just went on Redfin, nothing super special over here, just to went online, check out to see what's on the market. And, that's what we wanted to share is what is the real cost of getting into a home? And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now so that you can
sure.
see, everyone could see the scenario that we're gonna paint this picture on. So this is a property that is on the market. Like I said, it's a beautiful home, 300,000. Can you see it, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, these pictures are amazing. Love the kitchen. Front yard is beautiful. Countertops are gorgeous. This house looks just like somebody is ready to move into it. So
Hmm.
beautiful house. Obviously, everything looks great. Nice big backyard, great area. The price on this house, like I mentioned before, is listed at 300,000. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share a whiteboard here so that everyone can see what the numbers look like for somebody who's interested in putting an offer in on a house like this. So at 300,000, the minimum down payment is going to be, if we're looking at FHA financing, 3.5%. If somebody is looking at conventional financing and they are a first-time home buyer, the down payment requirement is 3%. So on this particular property, again, we're just going to go through the numbers on this particular home. So I'll go ahead and type it out here. So at $300,000, we have 3.5% if we go with FHA financing, 3% if we go with conventional financing. Tell me if you can see it, Dan. Everything looks good?
Yeah. Yeah. It
All
looks
right.
good.
Perfect. So if we're looking at conventional, I'm sorry, FHA, let's start there. That requires 3.5%. So $10,500 is what you're looking at coming out of pocket with. With conventional, I'm sorry, for the down payment. For conventional, if we're looking at 300,000 and you need to do 3% down, then that's going to be $9,000 that you would need for the down payment. But Dan, let's talk about down payment assistance.
Yes.
So, down payment assistance is something that is exactly what it sounds like, an assistance for the down payment. The amazing thing is that they go up to 5%. Some of these programs offer up to 5%, and the 5% is based off of the loan amount. So if we go with an FHA, version, an FHA program, up to 5%. I'll give you 14,000. Well, we'll do exact numbers. $14,475 FHA down payment assistance. If somebody pivots and decides they want to go with the conventional loan, and we'll talk about that in a minute, then the amount of assistance that somebody can get with 5% is 14,000, just a smidge more, 550. All right, this is conventional. Now, let's talk about upfront costs. So Dan, what would somebody, if they came to you and they said, I want to buy a house, and you said, okay, this is 3.5%, 3%, what else would they have to come out of pocket with?
So right up off the bat, you're going to be, kind of standard is 1% down for earnest money. But that, of course, is negotiable. That's just kind of a standard, but that amount can be negotiable. So 1% of the sales price or the offer price of the house towards your earnest money. Now that is credited to you, that 1%. Title holds on to that, and that is credited to you at closing. Other expenses you're going to have right off the bat is your inspection. And inspection can run you, $300, $400, $500, depending on what you want inspected. Whole house, roof, sewer, electric, all that kind of stuff. And those are bulk of your main fees right off the bat to make an offer on a house.
Then if the offer is accepted, that's the only time you would pay the lender anything up front. So once we get past the inspection period and you decide, hey, I'm going to move forward with this property, then you would have to pay your appraisal fee. So appraisal fee anywhere from $595 to $625. So we'll just call it $600 for the appraisal fee. And during the time that you're doing the inspection, you'll typically have something called an option period. And your option period, Dan, what do you think? 100, maybe?
$100, $150, somewhere in there. And that's, if you decide to walk away from the offer, decide, you don't want the house once it's inspected or something like that, you do get that earnest money back, but that option fee does stay with the seller. So you would be out that $150 if you decide to walk away during the option period. But if you move forward, then that option fees, right up front.
Yeah. So when we're talking about a sales price, a house price at the cost of $300,000, then we're looking at $3,000 for earnest money, $150 for option fee, we'll call it. We'll go on the conservative side. So we'll say $500 for inspection and then $600 for appraisal. So on a house that costs about $300,000, you're looking at a total upfront out-of-pocket expense of $4,250 total upfront costs. Now, what's amazing about these programs is that the down payment is going to be credited to you as though it's your own money. So the other side of what you need to get into a home is going to be your closing costs. So closing costs are typically, I usually have everyone prepare for 4% of the sales price. So we'll say at a $300,000 sales price, 4% is the closing cost. So that comes to $12,000. Now, have you seen this more times, this go around in this market since you've been in it, that sellers are a little more likely to help contribute towards that?
Completely. The last 12 to 18 months, well, probably closer to 12 months, is the time to get your closing costs negotiated and covered by the seller conceding that amount. And so I can't think of one transaction I've had in the last 12 months where we did not have all or part of my buyer's closing costs covered by a concession from the seller. And that's huge because in markets previous to this, years past, it never happened. But now is the time to get in for the lowest amount possible by having your closing costs potentially covered partially or fully, even in some scenarios, by the seller, depending on how long the house has maybe been sitting on the market, where it's priced at, etc. So
and that's really what's prompted us to do this today, because people don't realize is, okay, so you need, we'll just go on the higher end on all these numbers here, 10,500 for the FHA option. The closing costs are $12,000. And that total represents 22,500. Well, if we get the down payment assistance that we had just noted here, which is 14,475, and then if we ask the sellers to cover the $12,000 for closing costs, that was when I took 22, let me put it right here, 22,500 total cost with FHA. And then we start subtracting some numbers here. So 14,475 FHA, DPA. And then we say, okay, seller, if you can contribute the full 4%, because sellers can contribute up to 6% on an FHA
Correct.
transaction. So we say FHA concessions from seller. It's going to put us at 8,000. Oh, well, hold on. Let me go ahead and do that here. 14,775 minus $12,000. So that actually is a negative, which means goes back to our clients, goes back to the sellers, $3,975. And they can get that
Say that one more
back
time.
Back to the buyer.
Back to the buyer.
Yes. Say it louder for the back row. Back to the
Yes.
buyer. So
Yes.
that is something that we want to highlight to everyone because this is the true cost. Now, $4,250. You have to have that. That has to be something that you can get. But that can come in the form of a gift. That can come from a 401k loan. That can come from several different options, you know, a family member, somebody who's a close relative, like a relative. There's so many different ways to get that. And keep in mind that the 1% is still negotiable, like what Dan was just saying. You know, you could also negotiate that option fee. It doesn't have to be $150. You know, you could go on the lower end on the inspection fee. So these numbers could potentially come in at the upfront out-of-pocket cost. It could potentially come in lower, you know? And one of the things that's really especially exciting right now is for the fact that the down payment assistance programs now more than ever, and I'll highlight that for everyone too, to see which programs that we primarily work with. There are several, but one is the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The second is the Texas State Affordable Housing. Both of these programs are fantastic. Both of them have their pros and cons. Both of them have their benefits. But all the similarity about both of them is that they set the interest rates. So we could go into the Texas Homebuyer Program today and just say, okay, what's the Texas Homebuyer Program offering in terms of rates today? So today, if we were to go with the, we'll call it middle of the road program, where they offer 3% in assistance. So they're not covering quite all of it, but at 3%, the program has an interest rate of 6.125.
Wow.
Let's look at the Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation. So let's look at their rates today. So as of today, they're the ones that go up to 5%. So we'll see what their 5% interest rate option looks like today. And again, not bad. 5% is at 7.5%. And these are the rates. These are the 30-year fixed term rates that they offer. So on this particular property here, if we were to look at the option of looking at the monthly payment for this particular property, the one I just highlighted or mentioned, it's 8301 White Hart Drive, 76179. So it's in Fort Worth. I'm going to leave all the numbers the same as far as the sales price at $300,000 with 3.5% down. One of the nice things too, and Dan, we were talking about this offline, is that we're able to give our clients a homestead exemption upfront. So we
Hmm.
don't have to wait for them to file their paperwork. We can give it to them. Most of the time it's because the home already has a homestead exemption on there, but also because we know that the client is going to file it with the county, and the
Hmm.
county allows us to retroactively. So on this particular property, the taxes with the homestead exemption annually are $4,972. And homeowners insurance, we'll estimate that to come in at about 250. And monthly mortgage insurance is what you pay if you don't give a down payment of 20% or more. But we'll just leave it as is with the 3.5% down. So on this specific home with the numbers I just mentioned, let me go ahead and just type it up here because I want everyone to see it. We've got the mortgage itself, which I'll $1,759 for principal and interest. The homeowner's insurance is about 250 HOI. The property taxes per month, I had it annually, so let me just update that real quick. $414 a month. That's taxes with exemption. And then we have monthly mortgage insurance that comes in at $133. So if you've been following along here, if you had your calculator out and doing the math with me, the total monthly payment on this property is coming in at $25.56 per month. So
Wow.
the cost to purchase this home essentially comes in at $42.50, but look at the numbers, guys. It's showing that you're going to get 49 or 39.75 back. So really at the end of the day, it's $275 out of pocket.
$275 to move in the house. Yeah.
Where
Yep.
else are we doing? You know, and that's the message that we
Yeah.
want to get across to everybody, is that these aren't, fake numbers. These are real numbers. And in the show notes, I'll put the APR and keep us compliant and put in those figures so you guys can see. But what's amazing for me as a loan officer, I've been in the business almost, or this month it's 22 years. Dan, I know you're newer to the business, but you probably haven't seen anything like it
Mm-mm.
with being market for, the amount of time, 3 years, that somebody can move into a home really truly for $275. And now another thing that's also amazing that a lot of folks don't realize is that there's still tax incentives on top of all this. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
all of this sounds amazing, but I feel like those infomercials, but wait, there's more. Because there is, right? Because
Hmm.
these mortgage credit certificates, a lot of folks just don't understand or don't know about. And a lot of lenders honestly aren't sharing with their clients is still available. A mortgage credit certificate reduces the amount of income taxes that are withheld from your paycheck every time you get paid. So, like on this particular property, again, what that looks like, if you're a true first-time home buyer and you're going to buy a house at 300,000 and your loan amount is 289.5. What this program does is it allows us to take 15% of your interest, what you're going to pay in interest for the house. They let us give that back to you in cash, essentially. So it just makes your net take home pay higher. So in this example, it would give somebody back every year $2,645 in their pocket. Just gives you $120 more a month in pay. So you could also
Yeah.
say 2556 is your monthly mortgage payment, but we could also look at it in the perspective of, well, actually, when you have an additional 220, it's almost as though the monthly payment on this house is $23.36.
Hmm.
You could look at it that way, right? Because
Yeah.
now you're getting extra income that you've never had because you own a home. And we're not even going to add in all the facts that there's appreciation year over year. There's on average 10%, you know,
Hmm.
and speak to our previous client that we had too, that has, he just purchased, Mr. Aguilar, just
Hmm.
purchased it. And this was his fourth investment property,
Yep.
you
Or
know? I mean, that's just what's so amazing about the fact that folks are taking advantage of the market that we're in. And what's special about Mr. Aguilar was the fact that he has the foresight of looking at his primary residence as a future investment property. So
hmm
maybe this house on White Hart Drive isn't your dream home. Maybe it's not where you want to be forever, but it is a step in the right direction of where you want to go with home ownership. And that's what makes this so special. That's what gets us excited about what we do every day.
well, that's the quickest way to start building that generational wealth is, when you buy, your property is appreciating year over year, up to 10% usually in value, as well as you're paying it off, paying it down. And next thing you know, you look maybe 2, 3 years down the road and your house has increased in value. You've also paid it off, and now you have equity. And now you have decisions you can make. You can upgrade, you can move, you can change, but now you've got money in your pocket. And that's the most important thing. That's how you start actually getting out of a hole versus just paying off someone else's mortgage continually by continuing to rent. And so I can't speak more highly of this whole scenario of getting in for as cheap as possible. It's never been easier to buy a house. Maybe never been cheaper, not easier. You still got the same amount of hoops to jump through, but it's never been cheaper to buy a house right now than previous years. And so, yeah, you got to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And again, it kind of goes back to this is the time for us to truly just be aware of what is in front of us. I think more than anything, it is a true gift for first-time home buyers. I think that what a lot of people don't realize is that we may not see this time. This window may close. A lot of folks are waiting, I'm not quite sure for what, but waiting. And some people think after the elections, the rates are even going to go lower. Some people think that prices are going to go lower. Some people, they just have these ideas of what they should be waiting for. And Dan and I are here to tell you, this is your sign. If you were looking for a sign, this is your sign right now. Don't wait anymore because it's going to become an incredibly competitive market when everyone realizes that rates probably aren't going to go down for a while. And if they do go down, what's going to happen to the house prices?
The prices
They're going to go
start
up.
going way back up. Yeah, and that's the one thing I hear more often than not is the rates are so high, the rates are so high. Yeah, but you've got this small window of time right now where the rates are at the lowest they've been for a year and the house prices are at the lowest they've been for a year. And give it a few more months, the house prices are going to start going back up with these rates starting to creep down. And so you've got a moment in time right now. You've got a good few months to really seize on that. And if the rates drop dramatically, the house prices will go up dramatically. So yeah, you got a perfect window of time right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, for me, this is a unique market because I know that we were closing clients last year and even the beginning of this year in the interest rates were higher than where they're at right now. They were in the low to mid eights, and we had clients last year, that were closing in the mid to low eights. And what's really going to be another huge wave of refinances that folks are going to try to get in the door, and it's going to delay the process for a lot of purchases too. It may extend out
Hmm.
the amount of time that folks can purchase, because a huge influx of refinances, not like it's going to run out, money's going to run out or anything like that, but time is on your side right now. And that's just, again, this is just the message that we want folks to hear. We wanted to see, just put something in plain numbers and simple way to explain it. So if you are interested in exploring options and seeing if this is a good time for you and your family, Dan and I are here and happy to educate you, happy to give you the tools and resources you need in order to take the next step. Sometimes the next step is just picking up the phone and calling us, sending us a text message. Our contact information is below, and we will continue to stay in touch, and we'll continue to do these updates. Right, Dan?
Yeah, yeah. I thought this was beneficial. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Well, thanks everyone so much for watching. We appreciate it. Again, this is Sarah Cox with SMP Mortgage and Dan Hooley. Thank you for having us in your home, wherever you may be listening right now. We appreciate you guys and hope you'll share this with somebody who could benefit from hearing, this is your sign. Go buy a house. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye.